So it's not out of we are supposed to be evaluating based on the objectives that we've set jointly with the manager. At the end of the session, the manager will provide a written update of the progress against each objective, which he has done. He's done a very good job at that, explaining where we are in the process. The document should be the basis of discussion to ensure that there is a strategic alignment between the manager and the council. The council should assure all objectives remain relevant, add new ones when appropriate, reprioritize, those things. Let's see. Any resetting of the objectives should be closely tied to strategic planning. That's just a note. As we move down, the focus again, annual performance evaluation, and more importantly, salary consideration feedback should be gathered formally from council. Council should evaluate the aspects of the objectives. The town council should conduct its salary consideration at the meeting, and the annual review should include some discussion of the manager's development plan for next year, council giving guidance to the manager based on experience from previous year. And more importantly, I think one of the most important statements on here, under number 3, other considerations. In each annual cycle, it is imperative that the town manager be evaluated against the agreed performance objectives. It ties it right to exactly what's in the contract. Now, I'm going to give you some of the examples of the questions. I hope that you'll all find a copy sometime and look at it. For instance, something simple. Now, if you didn't observe this during the objectives, so say, for instance, one of the objectives is a balanced budget. The town manager must work with all department heads and town accountant to bring forward a balanced budget. Maybe you weren't here for the balanced budget. Maybe you weren't here for the budget meetings. Maybe you're a new counselor. You would then perhaps have a no observation on that one. But if maybe you'd have needs improvement would be a number 1, a satisfactory number 2, a good a 3, and an excellent is a 4. So here's a question. Does the town manager keep you informed in a timely manner of the things you need to know about? Well, under the balanced budget, you can evaluate the question based on the goals and objectives set and defined by the town manager and the council. Does the manager follow up on council requests for information or actions without having to be reminded? Again, 1 through 4. There's titles: providing information, providing advice, financial management, citizen relations, personnel management. Is the town manager effective in selecting and placing personnel? Well, that's right under the objective of hiring new personnel. The point I'm making, and I'm not going to keep going with this document is directly relevant, exactly relevant to the goals and objectives that were defined jointly with the town manager. I'm not sure why it's become a problem that we should not be using. It's been voted on prior council, and prior council votes are quite binding to future councils. Our government is based on that. I did send a letter, and so lest you not think that I sent anything with all this information for council, all 9 councilors, unfortunately we're not here to consider. It was very clear, and it's very, I've kept all copies of any. By the way, I also went through human resource with this before I proceeded when I was finding the information to see that, and I have reached out numerous other former councilors who were effective on this, other managers, process-wise, legal, just because I like to do my homework and not come out here. And we may not all agree on this in the end, and that's fine, but I found it important enough to bring forward because this is something that we spent a lot of time on in the past, making a policy and procedure, and I don't think we should just throw it aside. So I sent a letter to the councilors with this. I asked for this to be in the packet. I provided it to the chair who was out of town via, I gave him information and sent him other information. In discussion with Chairman Carrasco regarding the impending town manager evaluation, I questioned an evaluation form that was developed and voted on by previous council. This form was used twice for our last permanent town manager, Chris Clark, and was intended to be used going forward along with the evaluation of specific goals and objectives set by present council for present town manager. I have researched this subject and put together materials that document previous council actions. As councilors, we are the oversight authority for the town manager, and it's crucial we provide complete performance feedback to our town manager. Timely and productive feedback allows any employee the opportunity for adjustments for any areas of concern. This form, along with the form provided by Chairman Carrasco and the summary of goals and objectives provided by the town manager, San Angelo, will assist us to fully assess the town manager's overall performance. Our due diligence will set our community up for a successful year ahead. Enclosed documents show a timeline and council votes on the town manager evaluation form. I explained what those documents were, as I said to you at the beginning. The process is for all council. Chris Clark's memo suggests that evaluations go to the chair for tabulation, and they did. I point out that we did not have a human resource specialist at the time, and I recommend that we consider Ms. Ferrin assist us with the tabulation going forward. By the way, since writing that, I heard that there was assistance to numerous chairs in the past, but that's irrelevant. People had mentioned it to me. In the past, the manager's assistant gathered all the forms, and we as council of the whole reviewed and discussed the results. From there, as intended, feedback and direction was given to the town manager. New goals and objectives were formulated for the upcoming year. I closed by saying that I looked forward to moving the process forward. I don't believe a formal vote was necessary. However, if council feels the need to discuss and recommend that, I ask that this be put on this agenda item, which the chair graciously did for me, and that everybody consider the information that I sent to them in their packets. Having said all of that, I point out only one other spot in the manager's contract where it says that the chairman of the council shall provide the town manager with a summary written statement of the evaluation findings of the council and shall provide adequate opportunity for the manager to discuss his evaluation with the council. And now I state the individual evaluation of council members, and the summary evaluation shall be part of the manager's personnel file. So I say the individual council members because, again, this statement points out that we all have the right to individually evaluate the town manager, get it summarized, whether you use this form or the questions and come up with your own. That's, I guess, this was voted on. This is part of our policy and procedure. I leave it to council to think and to decide how they want to handle this. I do not disagree with the town manager at all that his goals and objectives are jointly developed. I do, however, believe that we as the hiring authority of this council have the right to decide how we are going to evaluate that town manager and review his overall success of those goals and objectives we laid out jointly with him at the beginning of his employment. Thank you for your indulgence, and that's really all I have to say. I think I've said enough.
Councilor Vecchia.
I have to be somewhere at 9 o'clock, but evidently the town manager sent a letter that some councilors didn't agree upon what he said, okay? So I don't think this is the place for it right here and right now. Let's take it someplace else, okay?
We can't.
Let's take it to executive session or take it some other place. I don't think it should be, keep on talking about it tonight, okay? I had some things I wanted to bring up tonight, but I don't have time to bring them up now because it's 9 o'clock, all right? But why don't we, the town manager has a disagreement here with some of the councilors. Why don't we, as you as the chairman, why don't you do something? Call a meeting or do something. Okay. I'm asking you.
Yeah, and again, just to refer back to Councilor Clements, I did develop a form based on the manager's contract because the contract stated that goals and objectives, he was going to be evaluated on goals and objectives. So I did a basic form. It's very basic. I broke down every goal and objective, and it's a little block, 3 spots, and then therefore, but we might have to do an executive session because this is contractual, and because there's some conflict in regards to contract language. So therefore, we might have to go into executive session to further discuss this because, again, it comes down to interpretation. So I agree with you, but I'm going to give other councilors a chance to talk about this, and I'll make a decision, Councilor Vecchia. Councilor DePietro.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Councilor Vecchia, excellent point, and Councilor Clemens, I think went a little bit above and beyond where we should be at this particular forum right now, but certainly point well taken. I think we should be very, very prudent looking at precedents with these things. The packet that I got with your summation for the town manager report, very professional and very short, very to the point, great. But if there's a precedent in place that says we should be using some other kind of form, or if we're going to change that, my opinion is by reading the charter, and again, according to precedents, it would be something we're going to vote on as a council if we're going to change it. No reflection on your on your paperwork. I think it was great, but I do have to agree with both councilors in that regard.
Mm-hmm. Councilor Steves.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just had a quick comment. That it seems like the form that you created seems to address the more specific objectives that we gave the town manager for this year, whereas the form that Councilor Clements brought up looks more at, as she quoted, the values, knowledge, and skills to deliver them.
Correct.
So really, the two kind of go together.
But if you understand my thought process,
I understood that. Yes.
the contract that was before me when I was looking at this evaluation process was, it says, town manager shall be evaluated based on goals and
I understood
objectives,
that. Absolutely.
not
I understood
anything
that.
else.
I understood
So,
that.
though
Absolutely.
I understood that there was a process in place,
Right.
and I was the general government chair, because I wanted the council to start thinking of this, but again, it ended it that we needed to look at this.
Yeah.
Nothing further came about.
Right.
No other action was taken. And again, I was just basing the form on the goals and objectives.
I'm not
Does
disagreeing
does
with you.
it
I'm
does
just
it
saying the
need to
two
be
kind of
changed?
dovetail together, so.
Does it need to be looked at? I can't disagree with the form that Councilor Clements has brought forth.
Right.
I can't. It's a great form. I think it's a great tool. But then again, we're stuck in a for me, my opinion, again, my opinion is a very limited, I'm 1 out of 9. But my opinion is based on the contract that this council voted on.
Right.
Therefore, if we voted on a contract, and it comes down to interpretation of a contract,
Right.
language. So who's going to interpret that? You know, each and every one of us are going to interpret it differently, okay? So at the end of the day, we might have to get lawyers involved in this because of language, okay? Because one's going to go this way, the other one's going to go that way. And it's unfortunate because, yes, our legal bills will continue to rise. But again, the reason it was developed that way, that form was because of what I had in front of me.
I get that. Absolutely.
I'm more than willing to look at this further, but again, this is something that we have to be very careful about.
Right. Absolutely.
Before Mr. DePietro, I got Councilor Mena.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. Just a few things. First, I just want to make note that in the email that was sent to us, he basically said that a council vote is not binding on future councils, and that is absolutely incorrect because you can't undo a vote. I'm sorry, I saw you shake your head no. You cannot undo a vote. Second, I compared Mr. Sanangelo's contract to Mr. Clark's contract, and it's exactly the same verbatim. And this was voted on. This was what I mentioned a couple weeks ago at the meeting. I said I thought there was something, and this exactly is what was the form that I was trying to think of. And it does say in the salary in Section 4, Part B, when it talks about his increase based upon an annual satisfactory performance review, okay? So we are reviewing his goals and objectives, and if you want us to tally up the votes, well, in the form that you sent us, there's nothing to tally. The form here, there's plenty to tally, and I went through it, and if you look at the first part, assistant council with its policy-making role. Well, you can find this under open and transparent government, internal administration. You can find this under the budget and facilities. I don't know why we're arguing over this form that was set in place and voted on by the town council. And the exact same contracts for the evaluation the wording is almost verbatim. I mean, there is no, if you look at the contracts, it's the same. And Chris Clark was evaluated on this. Now, I don't see what's wrong with using this. It's basically the same as this, but there's a little bit more meat to it. And if he's doing the job correctly, then there's nothing to worry about with using this form. And again, the vote is unbinding. And just one more thing, I am disappointed because it does say that the chairman does a summarization of the evaluations from the other counselors. It doesn't say anywhere the chairman makes the performance evaluation. This should have been discussed at a subcommittee when it should be discussed at length further. And I will go with this because this is what was voted on in the past. Thank you.
Councilor DePietro?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I mean, I respect all councils. I just think we're a meeting ahead of from where we should be right now. The question is, I think, whether we're deciding we're going to vote on accepting the form as presented by the chair or the older form or come up with something else, period. I mean, we're hours of discussion if you want to go into this any further. I think it's a point of order. We're just getting out of control. Let's establish that maybe.
Councilor McKenzie.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I'm a little confused here. And the reason that I am is because we've got two sets of questionnaires. I don't think we need two sets, but what I think we need to do is collectively, as 9 counselors, agree on one set altogether. And I really feel that we should be like almost 100% in agreement in understanding a document that we're going to use as an evaluation. I think both evaluation forms did take into consideration goals and objectives of the town manager, and I think that is a plus. But I really feel that we as a town council need to collectively come up with or agree with a format for evaluation. And if that means that we need to go into an executive session, or if it means we have to go to I don't see how it can go to a subcommittee, because that would only be one group. But we have to make some kind of a decision, and I don't think we're prepared to right now.
Okay. Councilor Mena.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. So we have the voted one in place, the policy set in place, and we have yours. Yours didn't have any input from any of the other town councilors what the questions should be asked on the evaluation. If we're going to change anything, we should have a meeting to discuss a new form or whether to keep the old form. That's what the meeting should be about. Because we, as a council of 9, did not have discussion on the new evaluation form that was brought forward to us. And the vote on this does matter. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Clements.
So there's a couple things. You mentioned executive session, and trust me, it'd be so much better to be in executive session. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to discuss things like this privately? However, there's 10 valid reasons, and unless we are discussing personal issues, character, reputation, whatever, which we are not. We're not discussing that. Town manager's a great guy. All we're discussing is how we're going to evaluate him and decide to give him a raise or not. That's part of this contract. And to have a form that says above expectation, meets expectation, and below expectation is just not enough. In a $54+ million company, you would not evaluate your top president or vice president or anybody with such low expectation, process. That's why we spent so much time previously in council doing what we did. And it ties completely in to exactly what it says here. It says specifically you must evaluate based on the goals and objectives. These questions are based on an evaluation of goals and objectives. I would love to go into executive session on this. It's not one of the valid reasons, and unfortunately, as other managers have said to me the same thing, it really is, sometimes it's other dealings that you just wish you didn't have to talk publicly about, and in that way I think the open meeting law really unfortunately hurts communities, because then a lot of times hard discussions like this you don't want to do in public, and then things get swept under the mat and are passed on and over, and so this was difficult in and of itself just to bring it out. But I bring it out because it's a process that I feel for this community is important, and we need to be mindful. We haven't had a permanent manager in a long time, 3 years, whatever. That's a long time. We've had interims, and we haven't really had to evaluate those interims. We've set goals for them, but we've not had a real evaluation process, opportunity, I should say. We have a process. And so therefore, using Chris Clark's contract, when we went into contract negotiations with the manager, we were all given Chris Clark's original contract, and we had the manager's contract, and we were, looking at how we as a council considered the new manager and what we needed to do, and we didn't take it lightly. This is exactly word for word in that previous contract about how it said review and evaluation shall be based on goals and objectives developed jointly by the council and the manager. Absolutely. I'm not saying we didn't develop those. Now I'm saying we as the council have to oversee those goals and objectives and come up with our own conclusions in a professional manner, not in a less than professional manner. That's all I'm asking.
Citizen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, for the record, my name is Dave Smick, and I live at 145 Ridge Road. And may I offer a suggestion? It appears that there's some disagreement on the format. I would suggest that you create or set up a meeting for a council of the whole to discuss the format, because right now I feel, now remember it's been 25 years since I've sat in those chairs, and I was on a town manager search committee. When we got down to the finalists, we handed the finalist a copy of the evaluation form, so everybody was aware on how it was going to be done. Now, after you have your council of the whole and you come to some consensus on a format, if at that point the manager feels or the council feels that you have to go into executive session to renegotiate, then I can understand that. But for the sake of transparency, in the discussion of the format, that in itself I don't think is subject to executive sessions, because we keep hearing about transparency and accountability. Well, let's see it. Let's put it into action as opposed to just words. Now, with all due respect, Mr. Chairman, on you doing your summary of the goals and objectives and handing council that form, I don't think you have the authority to do that. It's a suggestion at that point, which should be voted on by the entire council. You're going to be changing the format. And one of the other problems, and I've seen this when I was on council, the form that was voted on, I don't know if it was 2009 or 2010, by a past council, it wasn't a bylaw or anything like that, so it was a measure. And usually there's no parking place in the record book as a point of reference of where you can go for that. So I would also suggest, once council comes to agreement on a format, that it be placed in the council rules and regs. It's there, it's a hard copy, council rules and regs dictates to you people how you guys are going to run your business and how you conduct your business. So it doesn't get lost in the shuffle. Because I've seen things get, the only copy of it is in the minutes. You stack them in a box, 5 years later you dump the box. So there's no point of reference on what was done unless you go back and start digging. And that's a lot of work. So finding a permanent home for whatever that agreement is, that's what I would suggest. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smick. Mr. Town Manager, you've raised your hand. I'll give you an opportunity to speak.
First, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I kind of want to first point out that when I came here and was hired from this town council, and I know there's a couple of new members here, this was part of a contract. This is not a policy. This is not a procedure. This is a legal binding contract, okay? Legal binding contracts, just to be clear, override policy. So let's be clear about that. Second of all, I've heard the issue of town council is bound to something that a previous town council does. Frankly, if that were true, you guys couldn't do anything because you guys change policies on a regular basis. For instance, you have a non-union policy for employees, right? How often does the town council change those policies? That's the job of the town council, is to update policies and procedures. You do it all the time. In fact, we're doing bylaws tonight that change the policy of what former councilors had in mind. So the power to change policy is yours. You are not bound in any way by any former town council, particularly one from the year 2009. 6 years ago, that policy and that form was created, and I will quote from Mr. Clark himself in the document that I have, that the policy was created, attached as a 5-page evaluation tool that was developed and agreed upon between myself and the town council as a result of hard work. That policy was created between Mr. Clark and the town council at that time because it was relevant to Mr. Clark. Mr. Clark agreed to that policy. Now, let's be clear and I wrote a note to you, and I want to read it because Councilor Clements was kind enough to read it to the public, and I think the public does need to listen to what's going on and understand the process. So I wrote a letter to members of the council, and I want to be really clear. As you're aware, my 1-year anniversary date is August 19, 2016. I have attached a copy of the relevant section of my contract. As you will see under Section 5, Town Manager Evaluation states, the council shall review and evaluate the town manager every year from the date of appointment. Said review and evaluation shall be based on the goals and objectives developed jointly by the council and the town manager. Now, as you know, we, the committee, general government, did the goals and objectives, and I gave you a report specifically addressing each of those goals and objectives. The town council voted on that, both in general government and here. This council voted in all but unanimously, and Monique did vote a different way, but the rest of the council did vote, the members that were here, to adopt this as a set of goals and objectives. The chairman, to his credit, made a basic form that went directly, specifically to each goal and objectives that you guys outlined, right? And you expected me to meet those, and frankly, these were told to me up front, so I had a chance to act on those goals and objectives, right? So when you set goals and objectives for a town manager, you set them up front. You don't set them at the end of the game, right? So the town manager knows what he has to do in order to receive improved compensation from that. We all agree. That's the way it works, right? To my surprise, I get an evaluation form that frankly I don't think has much to do with the specific items here. So let me read a few questions that weren't read. And it says, to give you an example, does the town manager give sufficient credit to council? Does the town manager participate in enough intergovernment activity to have an impact on behalf of the town? Personality. Is the town manager's personality suited to effective performance of his duties? Does the town manager seek to use criticism or self at town in a positive ways? I don't know how this has anything to do with the goals and objectives that you established. And not to discredit anything, but I'm here every day, right? And people can base, I think frankly, people that would see what I could do, like I'm required to review my own employees. And I get to see their actions every day. So I know what they do on a regular basis. I don't know how the town council, being here twice a month at night meetings, would be able to review my personality with citizens on a daily basis. I don't know how. Is the town manager easy to talk to? I guess for me and you, I think I'm easy to talk to. But how am I with the citizens? You really haven't seen that. How am I with my department heads? Nobody's in my department head meetings. Nobody sees my, my reaction with citizens that come to my office in the day. All these questions are more, frankly, designed for secretarial work or somebody that would work for me. I've been to a lot of towns, and executive goals and objectives are based on larger issues than, how I comb my hair or, where I go on a daily basis or who I talk to and how do I smile in the right way. These goals and objectives have never been given to me until I got them in a form the other day, which were never handed to me. They were given in a packet that I got to see through the packet. If I knew that this was going to be my job based upon my performance, I guess I would have reviewed these and made sure I met them, right? But when they're given to me at the end of the year, I think that's pretty ridiculous, to be quite frankly. I think it's unfair. How do you meet goals and objectives you've never seen before? These goals and objectives were required by my contract. They were defined, they were specific. I worked my tail off to meet them, and I gave you a very good outline on how I met those goals and objectives. And frankly, I think you would agree that developing a facilities management plan, saving energy, and what we'll do is save over $100,000 in energy costs, hiring a permanent police chief, communication with town council and citizens, using the media to make the town look good, working with the bicentennial committee, working with the manufacturing community to do everything we can to improve business. That was the goal and objectives that this council stressed to me. They really didn't stress the fact that I had to respond to council members within, an hour of an email. That's not what we're talking about here. If you want me to meet these kind of goals and objectives, I can lock myself in an office and I can do nothing but respond to this little stuff. If you want me to do the important stuff, the stuff like making sure that our balance is good, that we're not using one-time revenues for long-term expenses, then you want me to meet the goals and objectives you outlined. To make me go through all of this stuff, to meet these important goals and objectives, and then to evaluate me on what you think my personality is, or what you think, do I respond, again, to emails in the right way? Let's read some more. I mean, they're really kind of fascinating things. Does the town manager show sensitivity to the concerns of others? I mean, I think that's nice, I really do, but it has no value to what we're trying to achieve here in the town. I'm looking to set up a budget that makes sense. I'm looking to make sure we have the best quality staff. I'm looking to make sure that our tax rate is reasonable, that we spend money in an intelligent way, that we have a capital improvement plan. Again, if you want me to meet these goals and objectives, I'll be happy to, and we can work on this next year, but I think they're bad. I think they're horrible goals and objectives. They really don't meet the needs. If Chris Clark likes these, good for Chris Clark. But I'm not Chris Clark. And I have a contract that was in place that we negotiated fairly. And that's what you should live up to, that contract. So yes, there's a contract difference. But I don't think I should have to meet Chris Clark's goals and objectives. I'd like to meet the goals and objectives that this council established for me. And I think they were fair, and I think they were difficult, and I think we did one hell of a job. Not just me, but the entire administration that's been working on these goals and objectives, because I didn't do any of this stuff by myself. This was the hard work of a huge amount of people throughout this town. We did some great things in the first year that I've been here. I'm damn proud of it. So if you want to evaluate me on my personality, if you want to evaluate me on these other crazy things, by all means do it. But I think it's a huge mistake to the town, and it undercuts what we're trying to do as a community.
Okay. I hear the concern of the council. I hear the concern of a citizen. I hear the concern of our town manager. I think the biggest issue that I'm hearing is the development of a form that I passed out. I understand, it was brought to my attention that I don't have the authority to pass out any forms. That's fine. I accept that. Again, anytime that there's a mistake and I'm in charge here, I will correct that. That's who I am. This is what I will do. I stand with what I say. I am not going to run from this. So therefore, there's an issue that we are hearing loud and clear, and it's a form. on how we are going to evaluate the town manager. So therefore, I am going to call a council of the whole meeting for Thursday, this Thursday at 7 p.m. If this really is important, at 7 p.m. we will have a council of the whole meeting, and we will talk until 1 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, and we will come together and develop a form. But hear me, understand, there's a contract in place. So we can develop the form as a council, and therefore we're going to have to bring it to our town manager, and he's going to get the chance to either approve that form.
That is absolutely ludicrous.
It's not under his purview.
Well, then we're going to have to get
It's
some.
under the council. The council discusses
We will
it.
develop the form, yes, but his
He doesn't
contract.
approve it or
Say
not.
his contract can say how we
He does not-
evaluate him.
You know what? This is ridiculous. He does not approve.
Point of order,
the
Ms.
form.
Manna, I still have the floor. Again, we will discuss this in long depths on Thursday night. At this point, I'm going to request that this council give me the authority to talk to our town attorney, because there's legal questions in regards to the contract. So I will reach out to our town attorney to talk about the contract, so I can have an answer for this council on Thursday night.
We have a 6.
We have a 6 p.m. meeting,
done.
general government, 7 p.m. It will not conflict with any other meetings. So therefore, I will post it tomorrow. It will meet the 48-hour window for open meeting law. There won't be any of that. And it's going to be simply the one agenda item, discuss town manager evaluation form. I have a citizen waiting. Please state your name and address, and please address us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Christopher Breer. I live at 25 Hartwell Street in Southbridge. And I just wanted to come forth because I do see the challenge ahead of you here, and I hope that that resolution will come through on Thursday when you have your meeting. But I did want to commend Ron. My mind isn't getting your last name right now. Anyway, I did want to commend Ron because a while back we set forth in the town of Southbridge a set of goals. It was called anybody remember? It was called the Future of Southbridge, or he did a whole program on percentages and all kinds of statistical stuff of what has happened in his administration, which to me was more or less presidential, but it kind of highlighted the fact that he has been working with the community has been working with him, and that might be a good guideline for you, because it gives you percentages and it gives you all these other things that may give you the qualifiers that you're looking for. I'm not good with contracts, that's not my area, but I do know that the work that has gone on here in the town of Southbridge is brought up to par because of this gentleman. So I just wanted to highlight that for you, and good luck with your Thursday meeting and bid piece. It's another day.
Thank you. I have Councilor DePietro, then Councilor Manna, then Councilor McKenzie. Councilor DePietro.
Just very quickly, I think all of our concerns are certainly not to be taken in any other way other than a matter of a point of order. I mean, our town manager, be he Mother Teresa or Lee Iacocca, God bless him, but we're not here to evaluate him, we're here to evaluate the evaluation process. And that's the question, I hope I wasn't taken any other way.
No.
Nor a reflection on the paperwork that you put together, Mr. Chair. I thought it was very good, but I don't think it was in order, and I agree to that.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Manna.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, let me apologize for interrupting you. Sometimes we get heated in the moment and we just burst out. Some people do. Secondly, I want to say that we as a council have the authority to ask citizens who've had contact or perhaps maybe had contact, business owners who have had contact with the town manager. We can even speak with department heads. We are the board. He is the CEO. The CEO answers to the board. So we have the authority, and it's even in our charter. Now, can we go and say, talk to like a department head about firing or hiring someone? No, but we can talk to them about, hey, how are things going? You know, if we don't do stuff like that, well, how are we going to evaluate? And that's why that's in here. And if memory serves me correctly, when you were interviewing up here, you were Mr. Happy, and that was your personality that you presented to the town. So I guess I could put Happy on here because that's how you interviewed. But, I mean, we have that authority to talk to citizens and talk to people. We're your boss. You're not ours. And as for the form and the town manager reviewing and approving it, no, that's up to the council to do. It's not up to the town manager. We as a council approve it. We agree upon the questions. We agree upon, and I'm sorry, but 99.9% of these questions are relative to these goals and objectives. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah,
Just hold on. I'm going in order. He's not responding. Councilor McKenzie.
Well, I'm a little concerned about this meeting on Thursday. I don't know if I can make it. I don't know if I should be saying that, but I don't know if I can attend. And I don't know if there's others also who may or may not be able to attend, which becomes a problem. So I'll just leave it at that. Friday's the wedding.
Okay, thank you. I can change the date. It's not, again, there's going to be 3 councilors already scheduled to be here on Thursday evening at 6 p.m. So all we need is 2 to have quorum. So I would make it so that would be 4, and I would hope someone else would be here. I understand that people have other commitments, and I understand that, and it's very difficult, but I understand the concern. So it doesn't have to be this Thursday. I can schedule it for the following Thursday. We can do it for September 1st. That'll give everybody an opportunity. The what?
That's Labor Day weekend. A lot of people go away.
On Thursday night?
Yeah, the vacation starts. It's a long weekend. Labor
Well,
Day
then-
is Monday.
How about a meeting on Saturday?
That's fine with me, as long as it's early.
I said it, maybe that. Not weekends.
I will,
I'm here
well
on
then,
Saturday.
therefore, seeing that there's a discretion in regards to the date, there will be no council of the whole meeting on Thursday, okay? And we will schedule a meeting. Because again, I'm 1 out of 9, and I want to be able to facilitate, and I apologize for causing so much turmoil over a form. Councilor Clements.
You have another response?
Yeah, I want to finish. First of all, it's really important that we understand that this is not personally directed to you or to anyone else here. What we're trying to do is come up with solutions, and there is no bias or attitude or anything that we're looking to do to hurt anybody's feelings or anything else, or we shouldn't be. I don't see it. So I'm asking that we just continue to, and realize how much we respect our town manager, so there's nothing on him. And Chairman, there's actually nothing on you either as far as disrespect. We have a high regard for you, so I'd like to just keep that above board, and let's keep our meeting above board. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Clements.
Thank you. Well, I was a bit taken aback by the tone of the response, because all I did was bring to light what has been done previously. And I was very concerned which I wasn't going to make a comment on, but I obviously, in the manager's letter, it concerned me deeply when I read the line that the votes of past town councilors is not binding on future town council members. That is what our government here in Southbridge, in a lot of other communities, and the country generally, is based on. Yes, we change things. We take new votes, we amend bylaws, we create new laws, we make new forms as a council. But certainly, to all the good councilors who have served, even ones you don't agree with, ones you agree with, their votes counted. That's what our government's based on. So to read that was really disconcerting in that note that went out to everybody. And I also want to point out, because it was, in my opinion, poked fun at, the management performance appraisal. And I sent that document that Chris Clark noted, that his participation in. Yes, we asked Chris Clark, who was at the time saying, geez, you haven't evaluated me, you can ever do it? And when the town managers committee and others, all the councilors, we thought we would take some input from a professional who didn't seem to have any problems with the questions, and we developed this. So yes, he noted that he assisted in the process. But again, it was voted that year, and it was voted and ratified again the next year to be used as a tool to move forward with future town managers, which is why I point out again that it's a performance and development appraisal for the town of Southbridge town manager. It doesn't state Chris Clark, states for the town of Southbridge town manager. And it would be disrespectful to not give credit to those who created this document and voted on this document as such. Whether the questions are agreeable or not, they're performance evaluation questions. They can be found in many. If you go online and look up performance evaluation, you will see thousands of documents and templates. They're not unlike any of that from any other company, corporation, or MMA, or anybody else who might suggest that you, as the hiring authority, has the right to evaluate. Thank you, Ms. Manna, for pointing out that we are the elected officials in this community. We go out, we are with the people every single day. We might not be in this town hall every single day, but we're with the people who voted for us. And they tell us their opinions all the time, and they expect us to act on them. All I did was be surprised that we were handed a document that had 3 options. And I knew that we had had something prior. And I reached out to our human resource person who found it and gave it to me. And I questioned its validity and produced the information. There was no malice in it. It was about oversight. My tone has been such for that. And I do take offense at the disrespect in the tone that was then given back to me tonight. It is clear that perhaps some more charter review is necessary, maybe even for council members, and perhaps that should be a topic at general government sometime. I understand from past people on the council that that was done, and that people would get together and discuss the charter and the rules and regs so that new people are on board with all that information. I know people are busy, they don't get a chance to review as much perhaps as some. But certainly this was about transparency and open government here in Southbridge. And I don't think requesting that we evaluate the means that got to the end of an objective or a goal, because the statement of do the means justify the end. I think as oversight, we need to evaluate how we got somewhere, not just getting there. How was the process? Was it in line with our policies and procedures? Was it in line with how we feel this community needs to be served? It probably is. It's probably going to be a great review. But I take offense that bringing this document and previous council's vote to light was taken the way it was, and I did everything completely transparent, from my emails, which I kept copies and copied people on, to the chairman, to the human resource manager, and to including every single person with this document, and I asked for this to be an agenda item. I was told maybe we should wait on that, and I said, well, in light of having gotten the document from you, I believe we need to discuss this in front of the cameras, in front of the public. So I stand by what I've stated. I stand by the information that I've given to the community, and I'm really not sure why it became such a contentious subject when all it is our ability to appraise and to potentially give a raise to the town manager, as we have done in the past. Thank you for your indulgence again. Hopefully I'll be able to make your meeting.
Councilor Mena.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. In regards to the meeting, you know, this has been a problem in the past. There's going to be times when meetings come up that everyone cannot make the meeting. This happened just last week to me. There was a meeting set up. I'm not going to be here. Sorry about that. You know, I didn't get no special treatment. I think you should keep the date. I think the date should be Thursday. I think the sooner we get this done, the better off we all will be. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Pawlowski.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I'll say this in under a minute. You know, at the last meeting, I stood here and I watched the chairman or a member of the Landfill Oversight Committee get cut off after 3 minutes, and he had important things to say, okay? I feel this town is being virtually crucified by bad decisions of the council of 2007. We have to stick to those. Now we're being told, I guess that's some kind of precedent, is just sitting here. It's been about 50 minutes. I think what was said could have been accomplished in 10. The idea of having a meeting of the whole, I think, was brilliant. I wish more former councilors would stand up and bring their experience. But really, to want to make this simple, it's just my opinion. You've done as well, maybe better than the others. I go to a lot of meetings. I watch stuff. We want to go by the rules all the time. Oh, the council of, what was it, 2010, wrote this particular form. We got to go by this document like it's the Constitution of the United States. They messed up. We're always got to deal with do this by then, do this by then. They were supposed to do this by what, August 17th? You guys got 51 weeks. You missed the deadline. Cut the guy some slack. I mean, you got to drive like an hour home, right? We've been listening, no, it's not that far. We've been listening to this for almost an hour. Cut him some slack. I mean, that wasn't the Declaration of Independence that the Council of 2010 had. In these questions, I mean, it's almost funny. I mean, thank you for the, you know, I don't think you're being disrespectful. You were showing the town, though, you know, the pettiness that's behind this. But the way I look at it, if I was your attorney, and I'm not, you know, I want to get you in trouble by taking your side. They might give you a harder time. They didn't give you your, they missed the deadline. So they give you an evaluation next week. They missed the deadline. You know, and you guys, you go to enough meetings. You got a whole year, a whole 50 weeks to do it, but cut the guy some slack. He really is trying hard. And what you asked him to do is, I mean, I smirked the night you gave him those goals and objectives. I'm really impressed with, I don't always agree with him, but I'm impressed both with his manner. I mean, the guy a lot of councils in the past, town managers, I mean, I had police going and charging me with stuff I wasn't guilty of. This guy, I'm suing the town, and he's a gentleman, he smiles. I mean, I think he's got a great personality. But, you know, we don't get them. Maybe you got a year now. Ask us all to write letters. You know, because you can, anyway, I said talk a minute, I talked 2 minutes. But thank you for your service to the town, but, you know, give yourselves a break. You got to go and give your comments yet.
Thank you, Mr. Pawlowski. Councilor DePietro.
Mr. Chair, I'm not sure. May I respond to that, or am I out of order asking that question?
You may respond, but then again, let's keep it respectful.
Very quickly and very briefly, and thank you so much. And I wish more folks would show up and give their opinions here, but I will disagree with you on one point. If we do not have precedents, if we do not have a form of order, if we don't have something established to go back to, and we change the rules every time we have a new council or a new chair, we have chaos, so we have to have a point of order. We have to have a point of reference. It's a necessity. Other than that, I'm with you.
Thank you. Okay.
I agree with you, Councilor Pietro.
Mr. Pulowski.
But you also missed the deadline.
Mr. Pulowski, you get one chance to speak. So, no. Thank you. Any other councilors that would like to talk about this matter? Because I know our town manager has lifted his hand. Mr. San Angelo.
Yeah, first I wanted to thank Councilor Manor. I completely agree. I don't think it needs to be spelled out that I work for the town council as a whole. I completely respect the views of the town council members, and I think that you've seen me on a regular basis when you guys give me your opinions, change and do things to meet those thoughts that you each have had. All I'm asking for is pretty simple. I'd like the town council to meet what I believe are the terms of the contract that I have with the town of Southbridge. I'm not asking for much more. The forum, I would like the forum to be based upon the goals and objectives that you set for me. I think that's a reasonable request since I've spent a year working on the goals and objectives that are voted on. I'd like them to be based on strictly that and not some other things that I'm unaware of or were not made aware of ahead of time. You know, the former town councilors all did tremendous work, and I respect the work they did when they worked with Mr. Clark. That should be respected, as each council going forward and each board and commission should be respected for the work they do. But the world we live in revolves around change. We have to make changes that are necessary to move the town forward. And you councilors on a regular basis are required to do that, just as those members that were here who negotiated the contract with me at that time, their opinions have to be respected. I made it a point of calling the chairman of the town council, Sean Moriarty, because I was baffled by this. When I saw this new form, I was like, this isn't based upon my contract. I said, Sean, is this what you had intended, this other process? And he said, no, we thought there was going to be, one process based upon goals and objectives that we established. So, I do respect everybody in the past and the work they've done, but I also respect tremendously the employees who work for me. And you know what? I know this is about a raise, but it's also about the goals and objectives that have been established that the men and women who work for this town have worked hard to achieve. They've worked their tails off to meet these, and frankly, I'm very proud of the work that each and every one of those members did. And that's part of it. I'm glad at the end of the day, sometimes I get the accolades when things are good. I also take the grief when things are bad. But you know what? We've had a great year. We have one of the best working relationships with our school committee and with our receiver. The school system in the town are working in a partnership. The businesses in the town are working in a partnership. We have the Latino community, a group of people meeting with me to talk about how to improve the relations in the Latino community with the town. We got the retailers trying to create a new Southbridge Business Association. We have a solar contract that's going to raise eventually, hopefully for the town, hundreds of thousands of dollars. There's new lights being put in all the buildings in town. They've already started that process. That's moving forward. Capital improvement project we have, we've spent this year over $1 million and we didn't borrow a dime. The year before I came in, we borrowed over $1 million. There's tremendous progress being made here. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm very proud of the last year of work of my team. And I don't want to see this evaluation come out be based upon things that I don't think are relevant to the advances that we made. If you guys don't think it's been a great year, I respect you guys have a right to evaluate me. Just evaluate me on the terms you set, which are the goals and objectives that you voted on.
Councilor Manor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. In reference to the goals and objectives and the contract and everything, it also states here in the contract under Section 9, other terms and conditions of employment in bullet point C. This agreement shall prevail over any conflicting personnel provisions of the town bylaws or rules and regulations. However, it doesn't, it also states that the charter, where is it? It states somewhere in here, I'm sorry, I thought I had it. It states in here that nothing, in his contract, it states that it doesn't preclude the charter. So we also have to make sure that he's abiding by the charter, okay? So there are some things in here that we also need to evaluate his performance on. I agree, the goals and objectives. Every town manager gets the goals and objectives, but we also have to evaluate also what's in the charter. So nothing in his contract, he can't supersede the charter, is what I'm trying to say. It's in his contract here. I thought I highlighted it, and apparently I didn't, and I apologize on that. If I can find it. If somebody else wants to talk, and I'll just come back, but.
Councilor McKenzie.
Thank you.
Yes, I think that we have beaten this thing pretty much to death tonight. And I think we also have an understanding of our thought process. I think we should now make some kind of a effort to either bring it to another meeting or make some kind of a decision here. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I found it.
Councilor Manning.
Thank you. I apologize. Section 1, functions and duties of the town manager. It says, the town manager shall perform the duties specified in the town charter and such other duties as the council shall for time to time legally assigned to him. So he actually has to, we also have to evaluate his performance on what he's obligated to do by the charter. So I do, 100% agree. I mean, we have to evaluate on the goals and objectives. We have to get creative in thinking. We have to have more meat. Like, we have to have more meat to it. And but we also have to make sure that we're basing his performance for his salary on not only goals and objectives, but on what his performances are that he's bound to by our charter.
Thank you. Again, this agenda item is just discussion, and I think we've had plenty of discussion.
You're here.
And we're still here, and the discussion will continue. And therefore, I am going to keep the meeting for Thursday, but I am going to change the time to 7:30. 7:30 on Thursday evening. Councilor McKenzie.
Yes, Chairman, I do plan on trying my very, very best to make it because of the importance of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 12, second reading of proposed bylaw to manage and control blighted properties. So, hold on, as I find the proposed bylaw. I have it. Thank you. There it is. Nope, I have it. Found it. Again, I'm going to ask certain councilors to help read this 8-page document. Whereas the town of Southbridge believes that the town should adopt a bylaw to control blighted properties, and whereas the town of Southbridge believes it is in the best interest to have all the tools at its disposal to control blighted properties, and whereas the town of Southbridge believes it is in the best interest of the citizens of the town of Southbridge for their health, safety, and well-being to control blighted properties. Now therefore, the town of Southbridge, acting by and through the town council, hereby takes the following action. The town council of the town of Southbridge, in the exercise of power conferred on it by Section 8, Article, Councilor Steves, what's the article number?
59. 89.
89. Okay, thank you. Of the amendments to the state constitution and by its own home rule charter does hereby adopt and enact the following addition to the Code of Bylaws, Town of Southbridge, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, to be indexed as Chapter 9, Section 301, and to be known as Control of Blighted Properties. Section 9-301, Purpose. A, it is hereby found and declared that There exists within the town of Southbridge numerous real properties which are blighted conditions. Many of these properties are essentially abandoned. Some are in violation of multiple aspects of state and local building and sanitary codes. These code violations may include, but are not limited to, unoccupied buildings, susceptible to vandalism and/or open structures rendering them unsafe and dangerous, yards full of litter and trash, unsecured homes, unshoveled snow and foliage rendering sidewalks impassable. B, the existence of such blight contributes to the decline of town neighborhoods. It is further found that the existence of such blighted property encourages temporary occupancy if abandoned by transients, drug users, and persons engaged in criminal activity, adversely affecting the economic well-being of the town of Southbridge and the health, safety, and well-being of Southbridge residents, and create significant costs to Southbridge by virtue of the need of constant monitoring and frequent boarding and securing. C, it is further found that many of the blighted properties can be rehabilitated, reconstructed, demolished, and/or reused so as to provide decent, safe, sanitary housing or commercial facilities, and that such rehabilitation, reconstruction, demolition, and/or reuse would eliminate, remedy, and/or prevent the adverse conditions described above. D, it is the intent of this article to protect and preserve public health, safety, security, and well-being of occupancy, abutters, and neighborhoods by, 1, requiring all residential, commercial, and industrial property owners to properly maintain properties free from blighted conditions, and 2, regulating the maintenance of residential, commercial, and industrial properties to prevent blighted and unsecured properties. Section 9-302 definitions will be read by Councilor Clements.
9302. When used in this chapter, unless the contrary intention clearly appears, the following terms shall have the following meanings. A, blighted premise or blighted properties, or the condition of blight involving real property in the town of Southbridge shall mean any building structure, parcel of land, or any part of a building or structure that is a separate unit, whether commercial, residential, whether occupied or unoccupied, in which at least one of the following conditions exists. The property is not being adequately maintained and secured as documented by the enforcement officer, as the term is defined herein, based upon without limitation the following factors or similar factors: missing or boarded windows or doors, collapsing or missing walls, roofs or floors, siding that is seriously damaged or missing, fire damage, a foundation that is structurally faulty, other structural deficiencies that contribute to blight as determined by the enforcement officer or his or her agents, the accumulation outside of interior furniture, garbage, trash, and/or junk, and/or the existence of inoperable, neglected motor vehicles, boats, motorcycles, or other inoperable machinery or other refuse unless otherwise licensed to do so. The property or its owners have been cited for violations as documented by an enforcement officer or his or her designated agents, and said violations have not been corrected. 3, the property is a fire hazard as documented by the fire department. 4, because of fire, wind, or other natural disaster, because of physical deterioration, the property is no longer habitable as a dwelling or useful for the purpose for which the completed structure was originally intended. 5, the property is a vacant building or defined hereunder. Or 6, it is determined by the enforcement officer or his or her designated agents that the building, structure, or parcel of land is in a condition which poses a serious nuisance or serious threat to safety, health, and/or well-being of the town of Southbridge. B, Board of Health shall mean the board as defined and designated by the town's governance documents. C, building shall mean a structure having a roof supported by columns or walls resting on its own foundations and designed for shelter, housing, or enclosure of persons, animals, or property of any kind. D, cost shall mean any and all expenses paid or incurred by the town for work done or efforts expanded in furtherance of carrying out the intent and directives of this bylaw, including but not limited to all technical, administrative, and/or professional fees and all court costs and attorney's fees for all the efforts to carry out this bylaw. E, inoperable, neglected motor vehicle shall mean a motor vehicle, whether registered or not, that remains in condition of disrepair or partially dismantled with no progress toward restoration, or a vehicle showing neglect by invasion of foliage, rodent nesting, or progressive deterioration or other condition attributable to neglect. F, inspector of buildings should mean the director of the inspections department, as well as the electrical inspector, the plumbing inspector, and/or the gas inspector, whether they are permanent or temporary in their service. G, enforcement officer shall mean the inspector of buildings, director of public health, police chief, fire chief, and and/or their designated agents. H, local agent shall mean an agent located within 30 driving miles distance of the property in question. I, owner shall mean the individual business entity, voluntary association, or nonprofit organization which alone or jointly or severally with others, 1, has legal title to any building structure and property, or 2, has care, charge, or control of any such building structure or property in any capacity, including but not limited to agent, executor, executrix, administrator, administratrix, trustee or guardian of the estate of the holder of legal title, or 3, is a leasee under a written agreement, or 4, is an agent, trustee, or other person appointed by the courts invested with possession or control of such building structure or property, or J, property shall mean any real residential, commercial, or industrial property or portion thereof located in the town of Southbridge, including buildings or structures situated on the property. For purposes of this article, property does not include property owned or subject to the control of the town of Southbridge or any of its governmental bodies. K, receiver shall mean a court-appointed individual who serves as a general contractor and whose duties and powers shall be specified by the court in accordance with the provisions of the Mass General Laws, Chapter 111, Section 1271. I, securing measures shall mean any action that are taken to prevent unauthorized persons access to the property, including but not limited to erecting fencing around the property, boarding up doors and windows, and the like. M, town shall mean the town of Southbridge. Oh, what happened to N? Oh, vacant shall mean either. That's strange. Any unoccupied real property which is empty or remains empty due to the abandonment or not continuously maintained, or which persistently or repeatedly becomes unprotected or unsecured, or which has become occupied by unauthorized persons, or which displays conditions of blight. 2, any unoccupied building, structure, or property displaying conditions of blight.
Thank you. Sections 9-303 and 9-304 will be read by Councilor McKenzie.
Section 9-303, blighted conditions. Creating a condition of blight. It shall be a violation of this bylaw for any owner or property vacant or otherwise in the town of Southbridge to allow or cause to be created intentionally or through neglect to take corrective action any condition of blight on the property or condition of blight caused by the property on any abutting properties. B, correction of blighted conditions. The owner of such blighted property shall correct any condition of blight on such property or its appurtenances. Section 9-304, administration. A, inspection authority. In order to properly protect the health and well-being of the people of the emergency responders of the town of Southbridge, enforcement officers or their authorized agents or representatives upon reasonable cause are authorized to enter, examine, and/or survey at any reasonable time such places as they consider necessary. Investigation. B, the enforcement officer or officers may undertake an investigation of any alleged violation of this section upon their own initiative or shall, upon receipt of a complaint from any individual, civic organization, or government agency, undertake an investigation of the alleged violation. C, orders to take corrective action. Upon finding a violation of the provisions of this section, the enforcement officer shall serve notice to the violation and the order to correct such violation upon the owners of the property by certified mail or by enhanced service by a person authorized to do so. The order shall require the owner to take one or more of the following actions to bring the property into compliance with the requirements of this bylaw. 1, to take any action that the enforcement officer deems necessary to correct the violation of this bylaw in order to assist the town of Southbridge in protecting the public health, safety, and well-being. 2, to correct the violation within 7 days or within such time as the enforcement officer deems reasonable and necessary. 3, the instances which permit or other authorizations are required to file a completed application and to any required plans for said permit for repair or rehabilitation along with a schedule indicating a completion date for such work or its various phases. Such schedule shall be approved by the enforcement officer. D, the right of the town to effect repairs whenever a property owner fails, neglects, or refuses to make repairs or to take other corrective actions specified in the order, the town officials may undertake such repairs or actions, or the town may seek a court-appointed receiver to manage the property and bring said property into compliance with all applicable statutes, regulations, and codes, or to take other action that the town officials or enforcement officer determines is necessary when, in his or her judgment, a failure to make the necessary repairs or corrective actions will endanger the public health, safety, and well-being. E, recovery of cost. Notice of the intention of the town to make such repairs or other corrective actions shall be served by the owners by certified mail or by service in hand by a person duly authorized to do so. When the repairs are made or other corrective actions are taken by the town of Southbridge, the cost of such repairs, which costs are understood to include all technical, administrative, and/or professional fees to accomplish these repairs and/or corrective actions, plus any and all court costs and attorney's fees for administration, processing, and/or prosecution of the collection of these costs shall constitute a debt in favor of the town against the owners of the repaired property. In the event that the owners fail, neglects, or refuses to pay the town the amount of the debt within 30 days of the receipt of the notice of the debt, the town may place a lien on the property for such a debt and/or initiate a civil action against the owner in a court of competent jurisdiction to recover the debt. F, the multiple remedies. The enforcement remedies provided in this chapter are not intended to replace or supersede the following remedies already existing under current law, but are to be available in addition to the existing remedies to be address and confront the dire community problem of blighted properties. 1. Receivership. Mass General Law, Chapter 111, Section 1271. 2. Municipal charges lien. Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 58. 3. Non-criminal disposition of bylaws violation. Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 21D. 4. Removal and abatement of public nuisances. Mass General Law, Chapter 111, Section 112 through 125. 5. Demolition liens for common nuisances. Mass General Law, Chapter 139, Section 3A. And 6. Remedies provided by state sanitary codes and state building code.
Thank you. Sections 9-305 and 9-306 will be read by Councilor Steves.
Section 9-305, appeals. A, right to hearing. Any person or persons upon whom any order has been served pursuant to any section of this bylaw and who is aggrieved by said order may appeal to the Board of Health, provided such petition must be filed in writing within 7 days after the day the order was served. B, hearing notice. Upon receipt of a petition, the Board of Health shall in writing inform the petitioner and other affected parties. Affected parties shall include the occupants of all affected premises if the petitioner is an owner, and the owner if the petitioner is an occupant, of the date, time, and place of the hearing and of their right to inspect, and copy the enforcement officer's file and other public records concerning the matter to be heard. C, appeal of final decisions. Any person aggrieved by the final decision of the Board of Health with respect to any order issued under the provisions of this bylaw may seek relief therefrom in any court of competent jurisdiction as provided by the laws of this Commonwealth. Section 9-306, registration of vacant buildings required. A, registration. Within 30 days of a building becoming vacant and each January 1st thereafter, each owner of such vacant building shall register said property with the Town of Southbridge's Director of Building Inspections. All registrations must state the owner's name, mailing address, physical address if different, telephone number, and email address if the individual has an email address. 2, if none of the owners are at an address within the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, or within 30 miles of Southbridge, the registration shall also include the name, address, phone number, and email address of a responsible local agent for purposes of securing and maintaining the property, for the purposes of notification in the event of an emergency affecting the public health, safety, and well-being, and for the service of any and all notices issued pursuant to this ordinance. 3, the failure to timely register a vacant building shall be a violation of this ordinance. Within the context of this chapter, timely shall mean registration no later than 30 days after a building becomes vacant. B, registration fees. 1, annual registration fee of $100 must accompany the registration form. The fee and registration are for the calendar year or the remaining portion of the calendar year in which the registration was initially required. Subsequent registration and fees are due on or prior to January 1st of each year. 2, failure to timely register any vacant property shall be a violation of this bylaw, and a fee shall be imposed as municipal charges lien on the property in accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 58. C, maintenance requirements. 1, properties subject to this section shall comply with the current edition of 780 CMR, the Massachusetts Building Code, and shall be maintained in accordance with all applicable state sanitary codes, building codes, and local regulations. 2, the property must contain a posting with the name and 24-hour contact phone number of the local owner or local agent responsible for the maintenance. This sign must be posted at the front of the property and must be legible and clearly visible from the public way and/or street. D, once the property is no longer vacant or is sold, the owner must provide proof of sale or written notice of occupancy to the Director of Building Inspections.
Sections 9-307 and 9-308 will be read by Councilor Mena.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Section 9-307, penalties and enforcement. This section shall be enforced by the enforcement officer, the Director of Building Inspections, the Director of the Board of Health, Health Inspector, the Police Chief, the Fire Chief, and/or the designated agents. Upon failure to comply with any order issued under this section, the town may, in addition to other penalties and actions, A, bring civil or legal action against the owner to require compliance with the order, including but not limited to seeking a court-approved receiver for the property in violation. B, issue fines whereby each separate offense of this section may be punishable by a fine of 1, first offense, $100 daily for each day the violation exists. 2, second offense, $150 daily for each day the violation exists. 3, third offense and each subsequent offense, $200 daily for each day the violation exists. Any fines issued in any action to enforce this bylaw shall be instituted and enforced in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 21D. C, undertaken any other actions legally applicable in enforcing any other laws, codes, regulations, or bylaws. The imposition of any enforcement of any section of this bylaw shall not be construed to prevent the enforcement of other laws upon the owner or owners and/or the premises, nor prevent the initiation of other enforcement measures or penalties. Failure to pay any fine arising from the enforcement of this chapter shall constitute a debt in favor of the town. The town may place a lien on the property for such debt and/or initiate a civil action against the owner or owners and a court of competent jurisdiction to recover the debt. In addition to this debt amount, costs, as defined in the definition section of this chapter, shall be added to the debt to compromise the total lien amount. Section 9-308, severability. If any provision of this section is held to be invalid by the court of competent jurisdiction, then such provision shall be considered separately and apart from the remaining provisions, which shall remain in full force and effect. The provisions of this section are effective immediately upon passage, and all provisions shall be enforced immediately. All bylaws or parts of bylaws inconsistent herewith are hereby repealed. This bylaw shall take effect on the date of passage.
Thank you to all the councilors for your assistance in reading this 8-page document. So now we're moving on to agenda item number 13, first reading to adopt the State of Massachusetts Stretch Code, Emergency Code, and designate Southbridge as a acute community. It has been stated that we want to postpone it. I need a motion to postpone.
So moved.
Second.
Simple hand vote. All those in favor to postpone? Any opposed? Okay, Thank you. Motion has been postponed. Agenda item number 14, Councilors Forum. I will start with Councilor McKenzie.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Mano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for you. Thank you for bringing up all that the police do. You brought up they were giving away the ice cream, which is wonderful for the kids. They also did that with Christmas gifts this past Christmas also. And also thank you for bringing up the event that took place in town today, the drug raid on 3 apartments. This is a problem in our town. It's been a problem for a very long time. This is what actually got me involved in town. And I just want to thank the police department and the Worcester County Drug and Task Force and whomever else was involved in this raid. Thank you, thank you, thank you for keeping us safe in our community and getting these drugs off the streets. Or potentially they were going to go on the streets and they didn't go on the streets. What really saddens me though is they're going to be brought to court, more than likely, and they're going to be bonded out. Some get bonded out, like on their first offense, for $40, some $100, maybe $250. They're very low bonds, and it's very disheartening to see that. So it's up to you as a community to speak to your lawmakers and see what can be done about this, because the laws that are on the books for some of these drug dealers and the way their fines are posed, perhaps there's something that can be done at the state level to take a look at this, to ensure that these drug dealers are not going back out right after they're bonded out, going back out onto the streets and doing the same thing over again. Because back in 2008, the guy who was arrested on my street for selling drugs was bonded out, and he was right back out there selling drugs, and he was rearrested because he was selling crack again on my street. So it does happen, and we really should be talking to our legislatures, the DA's office, anybody we can who will lend an ear, and seeing if something can be done about these bonds, so we know that these people, these drug dealers who want to deal to your kids, are not back out on the street the same night doing the same thing over and over again. But thank you very much to all that were involved today in today's drug raid, and thank you for keeping us safe, and I'm glad that everybody involved is safe also. And that is it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor DePietro.
Nothing to report, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Steves.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a couple of quick things. One is that when I was down at the concert in the Common yesterday, somebody came forward and asked if we could take a look at the situation with the Honor Roll Monument.
The what? I can't.
The Honor Roll Monument. Because the weeds are bad down there, and that in years past there used to be fiber optics that lit it up at night, but they haven't been working for years. So I wonder if he was wondering if we could take a look at that and see if they can be fixed. And also, I was wondering, where do things stand regarding the Wells project and the Dresser Street Bridge project?
Through you, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So the Wells project, as you know, that they've been working diligently over the last number of months to develop all the design documents and to apply for all the grants, the tax credits that they need to do that project. The plan is to bring an update, to have them come in and do an update or do at least some kind of presentation as to what is the current status. I've seen the latest draft of the design. It looks great. They're putting the final touches on that. This process, they're spending around $300,000 to do all of this work. The current status, as it was related to me, is that in order to apply for these tax credits, they have to do it in stages. In other words, you get approved by chunks, and then you have to go through different timing. So sometime in October, I do expect to bring them back to give us sort of the current status. But it is going to take, they talked about up to 1.5 to 2 years to get all those credits in place to move forward on the project. But they are moving diligently and doing all that design work.
Okay, and Dresser Street Bridge?
The Dresser Street Bridge that's the one that's near the field, right?
Yeah.
Right across. I know that they have a contractor, I believe, in place to do that. It's on Heather's schedule in terms of all our projects. I don't have the exact date for you. I can get you the latest from her as to the timing, but it is one of the projects she expected to do before winter.
Okay. Okay. And another thing I just wanted to quickly announce that as far as the Southbridge Bicentennial events are not over yet. The big ones are, but there's also a bunch of little stuff going on for the rest of going through the fall, including a bunch of stuff that's related to the Art Center is doing a few things. There's a bunch of trail walks and a bunch of downtown walks and various other things going on with October. And one of the next ones that's coming down the pike is going to be Sunday, September 11th, which is the Arts Center is doing a Southbridge Highlights show starting that day and opening that day and going through October. So that'll be fun. And there's also a Gateway Cemetery walk going on September 17th, which will help bring up a little of our historical figures and let them express themselves in a Gateway's own unique way. So I just thought I'd mention this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Clements.
Thank you. I just want to reiterate everybody else's sentiments, that lately our police and fire, all the time, but as of late with the bicentennial and the fireworks, it was great to be there also. And I just want to really give a shout out to Chief Woodson and Deputy Chief Dingy and Chief DeFranzo, because that evening there was some concern, and along about 7 o'clock they considered canceling because they weren't able to load the fireworks. And it was a concern because, our people are on a time clock and there's only so much time, and then there becomes an issue potentially of a cost incurred. And I just want to applaud our people and the members themselves, the officers and the firefighters who are willing to work with their chiefs and come up with a plan. So if we had been delayed, there was a plan in place to be able to accommodate and have the fireworks later and still get the traffic out. So although 20 minutes, I guess they might not have needed that extra time. But I just wanted to say kudos for them trying so hard to make sure that every avenue was covered just in case and not to disappoint the general public, even though many of them had been working overtime, 80 hours during the week and those types of problems and being away from their family. They were there that evening for this community to make sure that we could all enjoy such a great event put on by so many people. So kudos to you guys for really stepping up and making sure it was going to happen. Again, went to a wonderful senior lunch. Thanks to the crew down there at the senior center today. And today it was especially fun because they did a barbecue, as they do at this time of year, and they also fed our DPW workers, who seemed very appreciative of the meal that was served to them, and especially the homemade sundaes afterwards. So great things going down at our community center, and I hope that we can encourage more seniors to get out there and participate. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item number 15, discussion of the next meeting date.
That'll be Monday, September 12th, 2016, 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock in council chambers, but at 6:30 on September 12th, there will be the meeting with the school committee, the joint meeting to select a school committee member. That will be 6:30 on September 12th, followed by a council meeting at 7 here in the chambers.
Thank you. Agenda number 16, adjournment.
So moved.
Show of hands, all in favor. Good night. Thank you. This meeting's adjourned.